Welcome to the next person on our timeline of the exile to Jesus, and that would be Belshazzar, the son of Nebuchadnezzar. Here on our graph, you can see that Nebuchadnezzar have Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel chapter 2 went through this part, Daniel chapter 3, and now we get into, and then Daniel 4, then Belshazzar, we have Daniel 5, but that's the last year, the ending of Belshazzar, and then chapters 7 and 8 jumps back to the first year and the third year, which is probably the last year of Belshazzar. Belshazzar was mentioned through the book of Daniel. Now, Wikipedia, I looked it up in Daniel, and Wikipedia says Belshazzar appears as a central character in the story of Belshazzar's feast in the biblical book of Daniel, recognized by scholars as a work of historical fiction. Well, the people that alter these or add these statements in Wikipedia, basically I only see them in the Old Testament, which leads me to believe it's probably not Hindus. I don't think they care about it, nor do Buddhists care about it, or communists care about it. Christians wouldn't change that and say that's historical fiction. So it only leaves one tribe left that has been around for thousands of years, who have tried to make everything of God fiction. And they're still around today, and they're going to be around for a long time. Unfortunately, for the bad things that happen to this world by people that are not telling the truth, trying to change history to something that they want it to fit, and so forth. But we know that Daniel did exist, because it says in Matthew 24:15, Jesus says, "Whenever then you should behold the abomination of desolation, the thing having been spoken through Daniel the prophet, standing in a holy place." So if Daniel, the book of Daniel, was historical fiction, then it would be Jesus was wrong, and that leads a whole nother story. Now, if these people would have said something about Muhammad being wrong, they would suffer horrible consequences. Christians don't want to do that. The Old Testament is what it is, and I go through the Old Testament. I don't check history and what different walls on the castle, the fortifications, and different writings and history and all these things. I teach the Bible. Now, if you want to go and find out all the possible things that are wrong with the Bible, then go to Wikipedia and start looking it up. But we're not doing that, are we? And so we're going to begin now with the first year of Belshazzar. And in all of chapter 7, we're going to go through it. It starts off with a narrator. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Chaldeans, and this would have been in Babylon, Daniel beheld a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. So now Daniel is apparently still in Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar had died. And he wrote his dream, and the total sum of the words he said. Now the narrator ends, and now the writing of Daniel begins. I, Daniel, I viewed in my vision of the night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven struck me in the great sea, and four great wild beasts ascended from out of the sea. We have something like that in the book of Revelation, the beast from the sea. They're differing from one another. The first was as a lioness, and her wings were of an eagle, and I viewed until of which her wings were plucked, and she was lifted away from the earth, and upon the feet of a man she stood, and the heart of a man was given to her. And behold, a second wild beast like unto a bear, and on one part she stood, and 3 ribs were in her mouth, in between her teeth. And so they said to her, Rise up, eat much flesh. And after it I viewed, and behold, another wild beast, as a leopard, and to her were 4 wings of a bird above her, and 4 heads were to the wild beast, and authority was given to her. After this I viewed, and behold, a 4th wild beast, fearful and utterly astonishing, and extremely great, and its teeth iron, strong, eating and making fine, and the rest with its feet it trampled. And it was extremely diverse from all the wild beasts before it. And 10 horns were to it. And I have paid attention to its horns, and behold, another small horn ascended in the midst of them, and 3 horns prior to it were rooted out from in front of it. And behold, eyes as eyes of a man were in this horn, and a mouth speaking great things. Now we go into the judgment, and so then he says, I viewed until when thrones were set, and the old one of days sat down, could that be God? And his garment was as snow, white, and the hair of his head was as pure wool. His throne was a flame of fire, his wheels as fire blazing, and we see these wheels in the book of Ezekiel. A river of fire drew exiting before him, and 1,000 thousands were ministering to him, and 10,000 10,000s were present before him. A judgment seat was set, and books were opened. And I viewed then, because of a voice of the great words which that horn spoke, until the wild beast was done away with and destroyed, and his body was given unto burning fire, which goes into the book of Revelation. Satan's thrown into the burning ring of fire. And the rule of the rest of the wild beast was changed over, and a duration of life was given to them until a time and a season. And I viewed in a vision of the night, and behold, with the clouds of the heaven, even one as Son of Man was coming. In the clouds, Jesus comes in the clouds. He came in the clouds, going back, come again. And he came unto the old one of days, and was brought before him. And to him was given the rule, the man, Jesus, and the honor and the kingdom, and all the peoples, tribes, and languages shall serve to him. His authority is an eternal authority which shall not pass away, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed. So this couldn't have possibly happened already. My spirit shuddered. I, Daniel, and my manner and the visions of my head disturbed me, and I came forward to the one standing, and the exactness I sought from him to learning concerning all these things. And he spoke to me the exactness and the interpretation of the words he made known to me. Now we get into the interpretation. These 4 great wild beasts, their 4 kingdoms shall rise upon the earth. The ones shall be lifted away, and holy ones of the highest shall take to themselves a kingdom, which goes into the book of Revelation, where they defeat, Satan is defeated and thrown into the lake of fire. And they shall hold it unto the eon, and unto the eon of the eons, forever, everlasting. And I sought exactly concerning the 4th wild beast, that was diverse from every wild beast extremely fearsome, his teeth of iron and his fingernails of brass, devouring and making fine, and he trampled upon the rest with his feet. Now, I believe this is the man of sin that's coming. And concerning the horns of his, or it could be Satan later after the 1,000 years, and concerning the horns of his head, of the 10 in his head, and of the other ascending and shaking off the former 3, that horn in which the eyes and mouth spoke great things, and the sight of it was greater than the rest, I viewed. And that horn made war with the holy ones. Now, see, this is until the end of the book of Revelation. So it's not something right now. And he prevailed against them, against the ones in Revelation, the martyrs, until of which the old one of days came and gave judgment to the holy ones of the highest. And the time came, and the holy ones took control of the kingdom. And he said, the fourth wild beast will be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which shall excel all the kingdoms, and shall devour all the earth, and shall trample upon it. See, that hasn't happened yet. And cut it in pieces. And the 10 horns of his are 10 kings. Now, in my lifetime, there was a lot of writing on who these 10 kings were, the European Union and so forth. The European Union was a big possibility that people thought. And they shall rise up, and after them shall rise up another, who shall overwhelm all the ones prior. And 3 kings he shall humble. And words against the highest he shall speak, and the holy ones of the highest he shall mislead, and he shall be of opinion to change times and law. And it shall be granted in his hand unto a time, and times, and half a time. And this is at that period of time. I don't think it's happening right now, but other things are going on in Israel with Hamas and the rest of the world. Interesting. China's now coming against Israel, and boy, who knows what's happening. And what is it? Today's the last day of the month of November of 2023. And the judgment seat he shall set, and the rule shall change over to remove it from view and to destroy it until the end. So the destruction of this beast. And the kingdom and the authority and the greatness of the kings underneath all the heaven was given to holy ones of the highest, hopefully us. And his kingdom is an eternal kingdom, Jesus, and all the sovereignties shall serve and obey to him. Unto here is the end of the matter. I, Daniel, very much the thoughts of mine disturbed me, and my appearance changed upon me, and the matter I preserved in my heart. And you take all these things in, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me, even going through it here, trying to figure all these things out. You have so many people prognosticating all sorts of things. It's coming real soon. In the 7.5 years, the tribulation is going to be here real soon. I don't see that until the end, but I see the 2 Thessalonians happening, the defection and the man of sin, and then going into the temple, and then the gathering of all the believers. So this is the first year of Belshazzar. Now, apparently he lives for 3 years, and at the end, he has a feast. And we'll go through that. It says, Belshazzar the king made a great supper for his great men, 1,000. And before the 1,000 was the wine. And of drinking, Belshazzar spoke in the tasting of the wine to bring the items of gold and of silver which Nebuchadnezzar his father brought forth from out of the temple in Jerusalem. And they drank with them, the king and his great men and his concubines and his mistresses, and they brought the items of gold and of silver which were brought forth from out of the temple of God in Jerusalem, and drank with them. The king and his great men, and his concubines and his mistresses, they drank wine, and they praised the gods of gold, and of silver, and of brass, and of iron, and of wood, and of stones. They're having a good party going, drinking, and using all these holy vessels. And in the same hour came forth fingers of the hand of a man, and wrote over against the lamp upon the whitewashed portion of the wall of the house of the king. And the king viewed the knuckles of the hand writing. Then the appearance of the king changed, and his thoughts disturbed him. And the bonding together of his loin parted, his knees started shaking, and his knees struck together, and he started urinating. And the king yelled in his strength to bring the Magi and the Chaldeans and the astrologers. And he said to the wise ones of Babylon, whoever should read this writing and should make known its interpretation to me, purple garments shall be put on him like royalty, and the necklace of gold upon his neck, and as a third in my kingdom he shall rule. And entering were all the wise ones of the king, and they were not able to read the writing, nor to make known the interpretation to the king. And King Belshazzar was disturbed, and his appearance changed in him, and his great men were disturbed. It's all word. And the queen entered into the house of the banquet. And the queen responded and said, O king, live into the eon, let not your thoughts disturb you, and let not your appearance be changed. Well, no. There is a man in your kingdom in which spirit of holy God is in him. And in the days of your father, vigilance and understanding and wisdom, as wisdom of God, was found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father, placed him ruler of the enchanters of Magi, Chaldeans, and of astrologers. For extra spirits in him, and intelligence, and understanding, and untying things bonded together. It's Daniel. And the king put to him the name Belshazzar, same name as the king. Now then, let him be called, and its interpretation he will announce to you. Then Daniel was brought in before the king, and the king said to Daniel, Are you Daniel, the one from the sons of the captivity of Judea, of whom the king, my father the king, brought? I heard concerning you that Spirit of God is in you, and vigilance and understanding, and extra wisdom is found in you. And now there entered before me the wise ones, Magi and astrologers, that they should read this writing, and the interpretation they should make known to me, but they were not able to announce it to me. And I heard concerning you that you are able to interpret judgments. Now then, if you should be able to read this writing and its interpretation to make known to me, purple garments shall be put on you, and the necklace of gold will be to you upon your neck, and as third in my kingdom you shall rule. Then answered Daniel and said before the king, Well, let your gifts be yours, and the present of your house give to another. But I shall read the writing to the king, and the interpretation of it I shall make known to you, O king. God, the highest, gave the kingdom and the greatness and the honor and the glory to Nebuchadnezzar, your father. And because of the greatness of which he gave to him, all the peoples, tribes, languages were trembling and fearing from before him. Whom he willed, he did away with, and whom he willed, he beat, and whom he willed, he raised up high, whom he willed, he humbled. And when his heart was raised up high, and his spirit was fortified to be prideful, he was brought down from the throne of the kingdom, and the honor was removed from him. And from the men he was driven out, and his heart was given to be with the wild beasts and the wild donkeys among which he dwelt. And grass was fed him as an ox, and his body was dipped of the dew of the heaven, until of which he knew that God the highest dominated. Nebuchadnezzar, a believer now. The kingdom of men. He dominates the kingdom of men. Boy, I look at today and I see all these people in the United Nations against Israel. The United States is turning against Israel slowly, but it is. So the United Nations, pretty much all the kingdom of the world. China is coming against it. Russia's coming against it. Iran's coming. Everybody is coming against Israel, which is biblical. Then the book 38, 39th chapter of the book of Ezekiel. And it's not going to be good. A lot of dead bodies, and it's not going to be Jews. And so God dominates the kingdom of men, and to whomever it seems good, he gives it. And you, his son, O Belshazzar, humbled not your heart in front of God, of which all these things you knew. And against the Lord God of the heaven, Kyrios, you were haughty. And the items of his house they brought before you, and you and your great men and your concubines and your mistresses drank wine in them. And the gods of gold and of silver and of brass and of iron and of wood and of stones, the ones they see not and hear not and they know not, you praised. And the God of whom your breath is in his hand and all your ways, him you glorified not. On account of this, let the knuckles of a hand was sent at his presence, and this writing he arranged, God. And this is the writing being arranged. Mene, Thekel, Phares. This is the interpretation of the saying, Mani. God measured your kingdom and finished it. Thekel. It was set in the yoke balance scale and found lacking. It went way down. It was lacking. It didn't balance out good. Phares. Your kingdom was divided and was given to the Medes and Persians. And Belshazzar spoke, and they put on Daniel purple, and the gold necklace they put around his neck, and proclaimed concerning him for him to be third ruler in the kingdom. And in the same night, Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans was done away with. And Darius the Mede took the kingdom, being 62 years old. Now, when Darius took it, doesn't necessarily have to be the night that Belshazzar was done away with. And because we're going to go in next video will be on Darius. And Darius, which was here, 531, mentions being in the third year of Belshazzar. So now, it's kind of strange because really the Medes didn't take over. Cyrus took over first. So now, exactly how this goes is interesting. We'll go into the next video with Darius and go a little bit more in explaining the whole history of these episodes of these Persian kings. Hope you join us. Till then, God bless.